everybody. I've got to admit I'm a little confused. I've been working at this for so many years, and I haven't let anything stop me, and I'm not now. But advice was given by one of the people who advise people on how to grow your channel to look through all of your work and see what gets the most attention. Well, what do you think? It's anything I said about COPD. And COPD is a part of everything I do because it's what I live with. But I don't want it to be the center of my life. And that is why I don't talk about it all the time. I make the hashtag COPD and living well because I want people to see that yes, she has COPD. Yes, she's on oxygen. But look, she has not given up. And I want to use that to encourage others. Don't give up. Because I'm not dying of COPD. I am living with it. Living well does not mean maybe the best health. It means the best that I can live. Making my life meaningful. And that is why I do art. I'm not a great artist, but it's inspiring to me, and I hope to some others. I do occasionally do the biblical stories. Sometimes I'll do something else. But most of the time I like it to have some kind of story. Sometimes it's just for fun. I haven't been sculpting for a little bit because of my arm. And for some reason, yesterday and today, it was giving me terrible problem with my shoulder, which wasn't the problem this time. It was the elbow. So I don't know. I'm just, they say age is in the mind, but it's also in the body. So that's what I want you to understand about me and COPD. I've got a whole playlist of stuff about COPD. And I invite you to go there. And I know people do, because some of those have been watched thousands of times, and that makes me feel really good. But in order for my numbers and my interest to come up, I have to figure out what you want that I can enjoy. To just sit here every day or 5 days a week and just discuss COPD, it doesn't serve me, and then it won't serve you. Because I can only say the same thing over and over again so many times. You can see today I'm breathing. I'm smiling, and I love my life because I have it. So anyway, if you have any suggestions how I can integrate COPD that will maybe be something that people will relate to better, I don't know. I'm just kind of stuck right now. I do like the art, but I like it to be meaningful. And I know my painting, when it comes to people, it stinks. But I'm trying to come up with a different way of doing that. And because the whole Bible is full of people. And I do like doing that about once a week. Once or twice a week, I'll go through one of the Bible stories, and I'll stick to that particular thing until I get through that part of it. And right now I'm working on the book of Ruth, and it is such a romantic and a gracious story. And it happened. That's the main thing. But I am a storyteller. That's what I've written several books. I'm kind of stuck right now on what am I going to do. Never mind, I'm not going to go there. That's a different deal. So I'm going to do this tonight. I am going to do this story, and I'll probably relate it after I've drawn it so that you will maybe get a little better picture, because my people don't have to be so perfect as when I paint them. I'm doing a sketch and marker story. And as you know, I kind of like to do outlining. It seems to be much neater. We're in Ruth chapter 3. Now, before Ruth does anything, Naomi, who is her mother-in-law, tells her to go get dressed. Well, she tells her to bathe and put on perfume and get dressed in her best clothes. And then she's to go down to the threshing floor where Boaz and his men will be winnowing the wheat or the barley on the threshing floor. And Boaz is the redeemer caretaker of the family, and he is related to Naomi and Ruth through Elimelech, who was Naomi's husband. And relatedness, it really does count for a lot in these days, as just about as much as heritage does. So she is to go in. Naomi says, don't let him see you, but watch him when he's done drinking and eating, when he lays down, then go in and lay at his feet. And this is something that has some significance. I'm thinking that it is a way for her to let him know that she is available. And when he wakes, he asked, who's there? And she said, it is me, Ruth. Naomi is my mother-in-law, and you are our family redeemer and caretaker, more or less. He was the head of the family, we'll put it that way. And he gave her a bunch of barley in her shawl, and they gave a measurement. And the only thing I can relate to is I can't think that her shawl could have been so big that he could have, and besides, she needs to be able to carry it. So I imagine it was quite a bit, but it was, let's just say it was what she could carry in her shawl. Back to her and Naomi. And then he tells her that he knows she is a woman of noble character. He didn't say, he said he knows she's of noble character. She's not one who's just given to going and throwing herself at men's feet. You see how that comes out? How many times these days do you hear about women throwing themselves at some man's feet and he doesn't deserve her? You know? Well, guess where that came from? Anyway, so she is going home, and Boaz, he was going to go to the elders or whoever he needs to go to, and he is going to discuss with them this plight that Naomi and Ruth are in, and that they need a home, that Ruth needs a home, and Naomi needs to be cared for as well. It's hard. She's come back to the home that her and Elimelech had, but it's very difficult to live that way. And pardon my characters, I do give them some odd colors. I forget to make the faces on some of them a different color. That's okay, they're stick figures. But this is what she has done. Now she is back, and Naomi says, let's wait now and see what he does next. Now the ball is in Boaz's court.
And he, well, I'll back up just a little bit. He did tell her he felt very honored by her because she could have gone and laid down at the feet of much younger men, a young rich man, but she chose him. Well, actually, Naomi chose him, but I don't think Ruth was protesting at all. And she was very obedient to Naomi. She loves her mother-in-law, and I think she is really learning about her faith in God and what God is providing. And Naomi is now going to be provided for too. I take this from the sign that Boaz sends enough grain home with her. He doesn't just feed her there. Like a lot of the other women that she has been sitting and working with, they eat what they eat there, and then their family, there's also their family at home, and they probably buy stuff for that out of what they're paid. I don't know. I really don't know how that worked. But there's a point made here that he sent quite a bit of grain home in her shawl for both her and for Naomi. I think that he has, and his relation to her comes through Naomi, which comes through Elimelech. So it's very hard maybe sometimes for us to understand that these customs, they just might seem kind of odd to us. Well, this was way more than 2,000 years ago. And not only that, the women really didn't have a lot unless they had a man or had a husband. And most people did like to have a husband, and husbands like to have wives because they wanted to grow their family. And this was the family as God set it up. And since both Elimelech died, and so did both of their sons. And Ruth was married to the one son, and Orpah was married to the other. But neither one of them had children through their marriages. So this is something else that is very important, is that this heritage comes down through the generations and is picked up by another part of that generation. There were instances where if a brother died without child, then if the younger brother was available or whatever, I don't understand it completely and don't have it here in front of me, but they were to marry the widow, and the first son or whatever would be the heir of the brother that died. I don't know if this is practiced anywhere in the world today, but I do know that we all of our countries and stuff have different customs. So, we shouldn't be surprised that these old customs may not be so old to some areas. I don't know. All I know is that this was the custom of their day. And Boaz does eventually, it's very apparent in the next chapter that Boaz does marry Ruth, which means that those above him did not decide to marry her. It's just such a sweet story. This this woman comes and just lays herself at his feet. And he knows the significance of that. And he's honored. He's not looking at she's taking some advantage of. No, he is honored. He is honored by her choice, and I think probably very much by her obedience to her mother-in-law. Ruth did not have to go there. She could have gone back to her own parents in her own land. She chose. This was Ruth's choice. Thank you, and everybody have a wonderful evening. Good night.